So that's something to think about. I think the best time to do that kind of a project is in the winter, when the ground's frozen and the trees are dormant. But I think both the Town Forest Committee and the commercial thinning can be done, at the same time. It'd probably be done on different, pieces of the forest, but I think they could definitely both, be beneficial. That's all I have to report right now. I was just looking at Steve Nathan's questions. Would you like me to comment on those?
Please.
Okay. He remarks about he's seen tremendous biodiversity of plant species, and that maybe it's doing all right on its own without man's help, and that's correct. I wouldn't want to thin the whole forest. I would definitely leave some areas totally untouched, because there are certain areas out there where the trees are large, and it's probably best just to leave them alone. I think that both managed and unmanaged parts of the forest can be looked at the same time. I think that there's no reason to rule out one versus the other. I think that you could have certain areas that are left natural and other areas that are managed, and I think it would be good for the overall diversity of the area. Let me see what his next question was. Okay, he mentions about there's no access. Okay. Well, he says that there's already several gates, and that there's no need for another access. The gates that exist now are on Swan Pond Road, which are down here. This part, the town land, there really is no access for a vehicle up here. That, it's great to have access into this part, and that's good, and that should always be there. But up here, there's no access at present, and I think you might want to establish an access point at that time. Let's see, what other question do we have? Okay. I think he was interested to know how soon this would go ahead, and my thinking is, if you wanted to do something as far as a commercial cut, I think that it might be a little bit late right now to try to get it in this winter, just because the process takes a while to get it moving along. What it involves is, if you were to hire me to do it, it would involve marking the trees, doing a forest cutting plan for the project, which is approved by the state, getting prospective buyers in to look at it and bid on it, and then developing a timber sale contract with them, and then for them to find the time to fit it in. They have other work lined up ahead of time, so it might be tight as far as trying to get it in this winter, but this might be something that you might be considering for the following year. And maybe for this winter, the Town Forest Committee could, either this winter or during the spring, the Town Forest Committee might be able to get started on a project, thinning project for the residents to work on.
How much are you recommending commercial versus the town forest?
Well, I had for example, just on, we're talking about the town property, I had recommended 20 acres of commercial thinning. I think that if the town forest committee does anything, they'll probably do it where the access is better down on the school property. And they would probably do maybe 5 acres, something like that. It would be less than the commercial, depending on how much wood or how many people wanted to participate in that.
As far as the aggressiveness of it all, I mean, I don't have any real concept of it, to be honest with you, as far as what's a good idea, a bad idea, and which one's to thin out, which one's not to thin out. But you're not talking at all, you're talking 5 acres there and 20 acres there out of a couple hundred acres.
Yeah, the whole, I mean, if you consider the whole forest, it's over 260 acres, so total forest. And so what I had proposed was if you combine the 3 different properties, that's about 60 acres. So that's a substantial area, there's no doubt about it. I think that it could be done, within one winter. I mean, it doesn't take long to get it done, and I think it would be beneficial, for us.
Mr. Chairman, does the town forest committee have to go by the same guidelines as if you have a commercial cut? So you were mentioning a whole bunch of permitting and for the state.
Actually, unless if the cut is under a certain, if it's under 50 cords of firewood, which it would be probably for the town forest committee, they do not have to go through the permitting unless there's a wetland involved nearby, and I don't think there would be actually on that school piece where they would be working. So I don't think they really have to get any kind of permit to do some selective cutting.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Robbins, I've gone through your report, and it indicates on page 9 that the total estimated value is $75,000.
That's on the
Change.
school, the school property.
That's the school property?
Yes.
Okay. I thought this was for the town-owned land. So on the town side, the 20 acres that you're recommending commercial thinning, do you have an estimate of what the income would be to the town?
Yeah, that's on your handout. I had estimated about $6,000 to $8,000 for the thinning project. It's really, you're not, taking all the valuable trees. The idea is to take out the poorer trees so that the better trees can, put on more growth for the future, so that you'll have something even more valuable in the future by doing that thinning. So it's really an improvement rather than a big income-producing project. It's really to give you something for the future, and it really does pay off in the long run as far as the yield of the future timber that's created as a result of that.
Is it wiser to have the commercial people come in and do the thinning? In other words, the $6,000 to $8,000, rather than it sounds as though we're talking about the town forest committee project, portion of the project being in the high yield zone, as opposed to the commercial going into the town-owned, or what you refer to as the town property. You still think that would generate some interest on a commercial standpoint to go in and do the thinning and leave the good stuff there and take the other stuff out?
Well, yeah, I think, there are some, as far as the commercial cut, there are some, usable logs logs that are harvested and as lumber, for lumber. So there will be enough to generate an interest from a commercial point of view. The trees that the fuel wood program will be cutting will be really just good for firewood. It won't be good for anything other than firewood. And those are the trees that, you know, if you're looking at the resource as something to produce value for the future, those are the ones you want to take out now. They're not going to get any better in the future. You want to take them out, let the nice, straight, healthy oaks and pines grow up to become something worth something in the future. So they would be cutting just firewood. They wouldn't be cutting really good trees.
Maybe I'm confused. So is it the firewood is not on the town-owned land per se?
Oh, there is plenty of
Right.
firewood. It's just that there's no access right now unless you created an vehicle access. And you could do that, but I was thinking for this year, you know, and I had spoken to the school committee about it, that would probably be the best place for the forest committee to get started. It's more accessible, and there's plenty of wood that should come out at this point right there.
You mentioned that it probably wasn't enough time to do commercial cutting this season because of the process. How long is the process typically?
Well, the process begins, if you were to hire me, that I would go out and mark the trees individually. I would measure each tree that I mark and record it so that I would have a good volume estimate for you after the trees were all marked. I would then prepare a forest cutting plan, which goes to the state. That takes 2 weeks for that to be approved. So that's relatively a short period. And then it's a matter of getting people in to look at it and giving them time to put bids in on it, and then deciding which contractor you wanted to go with. And then that part of the process, you know, might take a couple of months. And then once the logging contractor gets in there and starts cutting, it's probably going to be a month to 6 weeks, maybe 2 months to do if the whole 60 acres was done.
And what is the best time to cut trees?
Really in the winter, just because you know, their logging equipment is better run on frozen ground, so there's not any soil disturbance, and also the trees are dormant, so there's less damage to the remaining trees from the logging process. So really the winter is the best. You know, we don't always get a frozen winter anymore. I mean, all the way we used to. So sometimes that's not always, doesn't always work out. But generally, you know, logging in the winter, I think, is the best time.
I'd like to hear from the Forest Committee associated with the plan for, let's say, our neighborhoods or whatever, or neighbors to cut.
Well, I don't represent, I am on the Forest Committee now. Myself and Scott Stimson have just been appointed. This letter from Steve Mason, he's been on it for a long time. He's been basically the only one on it. I guess what I'll do first is I'll respond a little bit to his letter. I haven't talked to him except on the phone a couple of times. We've been over a year trying to do this. We started well over, I think that the conservation has been like 2 years. And what we're trying to do is, or at least what I was trying to do, not